Hey everybody, what's up? Welcome to Sipping Gears. I'm your host, Ashley. If you're new, thanks for taking the time to watch us. And if you're returning, thanks for taking even more time to watch. We talk about all sorts of stuff on the channel, be it cars or beer related. Another video this go around is a car. It's been about a month since we put out a video, and that's just because it's been hectic. We've been trying to plan a car show that's going down in 2 weeks, and every week prior to now has been hectic trying to chase down cars and whatnot, trying to get everybody to be able to come to the show, which I think is going to be pretty cool. November 13th. It's a Saturday from noon to 4 in downtown Waco. If you're around, come check it out. There's going to be all sorts of cool stuff there. But now, we're sitting in a 2021 Porsche Macan. We've got this car for the next couple days. We picked this up yesterday. We got to do a little bit of different styles of driving yesterday. We did some highway driving, did some around town driving, and we're going to give this thing a review, kind of go through all the features, all the cool stuff that Porsche's done, some of the new tech that's in here, and just kind of give you an overview. But before we get too deep into the weeds in this, let's kind of back up. And you know, a lot of you know Porsche for the 911, right? Well, sure, Porsche builds the 911, but they started before that. They were building cars during World War II, then, you know, slowly made their way into the 911. And, you know, the 911's a great car and does all sorts of amazing things, and that's what they're known for. But that car wasn't doing it all for Porsche. They were in financial trouble, you know, kind of starting to sputter along, and they needed something to kind of revive the brand. So in '96, they brought out the Boxster. And then a few years later, they did something that no one in this kind of brand had done yet. Porsche had been around a long time, BMW's been around a long time, but these guys were the first to the market with a SUV that could do it all and still make an enthusiast smile. So they brought out the Cayenne in '02, and then in '14 they brought the Macan out. And since then, this has developed into Porsche's leading seller. These hit the lot, they go right into somebody's house. I mean, this thing is selling like crazy, which in turn gives Porsche the money to build cooler stuff. I mean, the new 911, the GT3, we've got the Taycan Cross Turismo, all the crazy hybrid and electric technology that's coming is because we're sitting in something like this. I mean, yeah, it's a $52,000 SUV to start, but people are buying them up like hotcakes. So we're going to take this thing for a drive. We're going to talk about some of the stuff that's out there, you know, that competes against this, and why maybe this might be better, why people buy this car. So let's go have some fun. Thanks for watching. Let's do this. All right, guys, so we're going to take a quick peek at the outside of this Macan. And you know, I told you it's a base model, but one of the cool options it has is the color, night blue metallic. It's got a nice set of metal flake running through the paint, so that flake comes through in the sun, and I'll try and get it on camera and show you what we got. And then one of the other options is these wheels. These are 20-inch wheels. They're factory Porsche wheels, but they are coated in satin, so they're a little darker, so you get a really cool color contrast between the blue and the little bit darker gray. It's a really neat setup. And we'll kind of walk around. I'm gonna flip the gear. Hopefully I can show you the metal flake kind of coming through. You can definitely see it, but in the sun it's amazing. Again, 20-inch wheels. One of the other options that this vehicle does have, these side blades right here, on a standard base model, no options, they're black. With these being in the body color, it kind of hides them a little bit. I think they look really good. Come up here up top, you've got gloss black roof rails. They look really good. They kind of help set that body line off, the roof line off a little bit. They look super cool. If we walk around to the front, you know, you've got this beautiful, beautiful sculpted front end. The hood, very reminiscent of a 911 with the way the body lines run. The grille and all your, excuse me, the grille and all of your vents up front are very Cayenne-esque. They've just been shrunk down. And these here on the side, in the upper trim levels, become active, and those are open, a little bit more cooling, a little bit better airflow. On the standard version, they're not. There is a camera. We roll right up in here. right there, there's a 360-degree camera. That's part of the premium package that this guy has, that, you know, might drive the price up a little bit, but it's worth it. And then one of the other really awesome features, this does come standard with LED headlights, but this has the Porsche Active Lighting Management System. These headlights turn and adjust as you're going down the road. These things are amazing. They are super bright at night. You can see whatever you want. And if you're a little nerdy like I am, Flight of the Navigator looks a little bit like Max. Navigator. Maybe I'll show that in the video, who knows. But as we walk around, I mean, you look at this, you know, you get a sense of the price of this thing, you drive this thing, you see why it sells the way it does, and why it's the best-selling vehicle Porsche has, and why it's opening doors for Porsche to do some other things. Without this thing, there would not be some of these other cool cars that they're doing. But one other weird little thing I wanted to show you, I tried to open the rear hatch earlier from the outside, and it took me a minute to find the button. I was searching all over, and then it's located right here. So this little button on the windshield wiper opens the back hatch, but kind of cool, it's hidden. But this thing is awesome. You know, if you're in the market for one of these things, you know, a CUV, and you've got the money, the Macan's the way to go. All right, folks, we are inside the Macan. I know we kind of walked around the outside a little bit, but I wanted to touch base on the inside and kind of give you an idea what it looks like. I mean, if you've ever been inside a Porsche, you know that fit and finish are second to none. That is something that Porsche does probably better than anybody. I mean, there's not a weird panel gap anywhere. Everything in this thing lines up just like it's supposed to. Everything's trimmed out super nice. I mean, Porsche does a really, really solid job. One of the things that they've left in the car that a lot of people are going away from is some push button controls. Everything in a lot of the new cars is touchscreen. Everything's done through the big navigation screen, or whatever you want to call it, infotainment on the front. Porsche has a huge screen. Look at this thing. It's almost 11 inches. It's 10.9 inches, and that thing is huge. And you can, yes, do a lot of stuff through that. But if you look down through here, I mean, yes, it looks like a spaceship with all these buttons, but they've done a really solid job of making it really simple to use. Yeah, it's a little overwhelming at first, but dual climate control, you can sync them together, you know, and keep everything as one, or you can control it individually and keep each other happy. One person can have it colder than the other, whatever. You got heated seats and cooled seats. Depending on where you live, you know, this may or may not be an option for you. But we live in Texas. This is worth every penny, having a cooled seat. I will admit it makes a little bit of white noise in the background, might lull you to sleep a little bit, but it's awesome to have. Sport button, traction control, off-road mode, which in the base model, if you're not optioning for some of the extra fancy suspension, all this is going to do is change where the torque is delivered and some of the gearing at lower speeds to give you a little bit better traction if you're going to take this thing off-road. Lane assist, so this just yells at you when you get too close to another dotted line or white line, whatever. And then you've got hill descent control way up here, so if you are off-road and you want to take this thing down a really steep grade, this is going to help you out a ton. Again, huge screen up here, beautiful clock with a second hand. I don't know why I'm so old school and think that that's really neat. Looking here at the gauges and our steering wheel's got really intuitive thumb controls. You can scroll through everything really, really easy and kind of get all the info you need right here. One weird little caveat that I found yesterday, the heated steering wheel is this button. So you click it, it tells you it's on. You give it another little click, it tells you it's off. I found that by accident, just kind of goofing around with all the buttons. The other thing I want to show you is the controls up here. This beautiful LED light strip does come on when the doors are open. It's really super trick and looks pretty nice when the lights are on in the evening. But we do have this monster panoramic roof, and I'll show you here in just a second. We'll flip the camera and you can see how big it is, and it's open. And if we push that button, rolling it closed, it's a little theatrical, it takes a while, but I mean, it's super nice. It does provide a ton of shade when you have it closed, but I like to have it open. We'll open it back up here in just a second. With it being open, it feels a little bit more spacious in here. This is one of the smaller size vehicles in its marketplace. The F-Pace is a little bit bigger. The X3 might be a little bit bigger, but this one is definitely a little bit smaller. But are you buying a Macan for space? No, you're buying it because you want a Porsche. You're buying it for that experience. But this thing is super nice. I mean, yeah, I'll admit I sat in the back seat earlier. It's a little cramped, but you're not going on long journeys and cramming the kids in the back of this thing. You know, you're jumping in to go around town. You probably have another vehicle for running around. So if we're looking at everything, this thing starts at 52 grand. It does have some options on it. It does have the premium package. It's got some 20-inch option wheels. It's got the night blue metallic color, which is just gorgeous in the sun. You know, but by the time you tick all the boxes, 14-way power seats and everything, this thing goes from 52 grand to 67. So it is a little spendy. It is a little bit more expensive than most in the same group, but you know, it's worth it. It's worth every penny. We're gonna drive this thing some. We're gonna talk about this smooth as butter PDK. Porsche does it better than anybody in that world. So we're gonna go for a drive, but just looking at the interior, the overall fit and finish, this car is super, super solid. So let's go for a drive and check it out. Merge on to the interstate, I guess this is what this is. And yeah, this little 2-liter doesn't have a ton of power, you know, 250 horsepower or so, 270 some odd pound-feet of torque. It's not a rocket ship by any stretch, but man, this thing gets up and goes and will do plenty more than the speed limit should allow. If you don't set cruise control, you're gonna get a speeding ticket, but this thing is so smooth. Double wishbone front suspension, so it does a lot of things that, you know, a lot of standard cars aren't going to do. It handles so nice. It's flat through turns. It handles bumps. I mean, this thing absorbs everything. You know, it's been a long time since I've driven a performance SUV or CUV, whatever you want to call it. I worked for a company a long time ago that came out with one, and you know, it was cool, but this thing, you know, they've come a long way, and this does a really good job of kind of doing everything. It can cruise around town. It could go carve up a canyon just as well, and you could have people in the back. You might make them sick with how well it does it. So this thing's super nice. I mean, you can't complain about one thing. The PDK is super smooth. It's super comfortable in here. If I was gonna nitpick this thing, and I'm telling you, I'm gonna be really picky, the way they have the vents set up. These center vents down here, they're nicely aimed. They just don't flow a ton of air. And then you've got these vents way up over here that flow a ton of air. So the upper side of your body's getting a ton of air, whereas maybe one side isn't. It almost feels a little weird. It almost feels like something's a little wrong, but that's just how it's set up. That's just how it works. But that's gonna be like the nitpickiest thing I could find. And if that's what you're complaining about, well, you should buy one of these things anyway. So we're gonna drive it some more over the next couple days, but I couldn't say a bad thing about it. This thing is super nice. It drives well, it does everything well. We're gonna throw some groceries in it here in a little bit. I'm sure it'll hold those well too. So, you know, if you're looking for a CUV, a crossover, whatever you wanna call this, this is what you get. Get the Porsche, get the Macan, get whatever trim level you want, but I mean, the base with some options is just fine. So check one of these out, and I'm sure Porsche will sell you one.